sleeping. I'm not sleeping on tacticaldistributors.com, but every time I put on this Fozzie fleece pullover, it feels so good and makes me want to nap. Don't forget, Unpossible 15 gets you a discount. Get the fuck out of here.
Buddy Nate here is the CEO of Bergara, which, congratulations, what an awesome job you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Welcome. It's pretty good lucky timing, too, with Remington totally just jumping off the cliff committing suicide.
You think?
Man. I'm so happy for you.
Golly, I wish I could take all the credit for it.
Well, I got to say, me, probably anyone in the world is happier for you. I mean, I ain't mad about it.
Timing has been very fortunate for us, or fortuitous, depending on how you want to say that. But yes, it's been very, very good. Things have come together for a multitude of reasons. We like to think we make a good product.
Definitely.
Identified an area of opportunity, and Lady Luck has shined on us a little bit.
It's funny how that happens when you try real hard.
It is.
Yeah. People that try real hard get luckier than, lazy people that don't and sit around and complain, it seems.
That is very true.
Okay, so I was ignorant to a lot of these things. First of all, Bergara, I guess USA, is that what you guys are called? Bergara America, Bergara. What's the U.S. faction of this?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep. That's pretty scientific.
So you were in outside of Atlanta, a mile or two from my old company, Advanced Armament.
Your old stomping grounds. We actually are in Lawrenceville.
Oh yeah. And
we've been there for about 5 years. Prior to that, we were in Duluth, which is the next town down, and then prior to that, we were over in Norcross. So we've always been
just like me. I was Advanced Armament was in all of those towns as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I always thought Lawrenceville.
No, it was started in Lawrenceville. In Bullseye is where I started Advanced Armament. Yeah, so Advanced Armament was in all of those towns. So we started out in Bullseye Indoor Range in the back there, had 300 square feet, and then I moved to Lilburn first. Five Forks Trickham Road. My next building was in Duluth, then Norcross, and then Lawrenceville again.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, moved every 2 years for 10 years, basically.
Well, moving sucks.
It did.
So I've told our team that they can move again, but if they do it, they're going to do it without me because I'm going to quit. I'm going to go to the unemployment line. It's not a whole lot of fun.
God, as big as you guys are now, moving would be a nightmare.
That is true.
Okay, so it's not just Bergara. So is BPI, is that the name of the parent company?
BPI Outdoors is our corporate name, and really that goes back to 1999 when the company was formed to buy the assets of Connecticut Valley Arms, or CVA.
Yeah,
basically
CVA.
What people know as CVA muzzleloaders.
Yeah, okay. Well, when did you start there?
I started in 99. So I came on board about
Nice.
2 months after BPI was formed. And I'd like to say I was recruited in or hired in, but I really kind of just stalked my way in. Like I harassed our former president to the point that I think I beat him into submission.
Yeah, give this kid a job.
That's right.
Yeah. So at the time, what were you guys doing? What does BPI stand for?
BPI stands for Black Powder Products Incorporated. Yeah, very,
Awesome.
very creative name. I think the original owner of the company, he was a bean counter, a guy named Bob Hickey. I think he just wanted a name for the corporate documents and had no forethought or vision into what that might become. And so we realized very quickly that was a mouthful, and we better do something about it. We still struggle with it. It's not an ideal situation, but it's not worth hitting the reset button on either.
Well, you think about in terms of that. I know I did a new LLC for a project we're working on the other day, and it's like our attorney is filing the paperwork and asks me what we want to name it. Yeah. So it happens. You think about Magpul.
It's one of the hardest things, naming something.
Naming.
It really is.
Yeah.
Just the creative stuff is difficult, especially if you're not very creative.
Well, and then you think, in a lot of cases, you may not know. You may have a general idea of where you want to go, but you don't really know where you're going to be in 5 or 10 years. And to be able to plan that out in a name that is encompassing enough is a challenge for sure.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it's rare. I wanted something ambiguous this time, like Q, because, I just want to innovate and develop product, be happy, work with my friends. So, like, I didn't know what we'd be doing in 5 or 10 years. So, just name it something generic doesn't mean anything that can be iconic. You know, it can be a logo and all that. Doesn't mean shit. But we could do sailboats or coat hangers or shoestrings or guns. Like
Easy to spell.
Easy. Well, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, and who would have thought Q.com was taken?
I know. What a bummer.
All right, random question. Who owns Q.com? What kind of products?
I don't even know.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I just know it's taken. I don't think I've ever gone to Q.com.
You want to buy it? I'll sell it to you.
You want? We can talk about it.
I got $3.
And okay, so So at that time, what were you guys doing? Or was it a company outside of the assets of CVA?
So CVA was only making muzzleloading rifles, and it was a contract relationship. The gentleman that owned it from Atlanta, he actually
it's from Atlanta.
It was originally from Connecticut. Okay, and
Makes
he
more
moved up
sense.
to and he moved. He was an old Arthur Anderson CPA. Decided he didn't want to be a corporate accountant.
Yeah.
Wanted to own a business. Didn't really know much about it. Found this company somehow. Decided to buy him. Moved up to Connecticut. He spent one winter up here. I think his wife pretty much said, "Hey, Bob, I'm going back to Atlanta. You can do whatever you want to do."
Yeah, I'd love for you to come with me.
And he quickly did the math and realized that it was cheaper to move the company than it was to get rid of his wife.
Yeah.
So they moved it back down to Atlanta. It was just distribution, really. So that was a pretty easier transition.
Yeah.
And it was a contract relationship with a factory in Spain.
Oh, so that was the deal. So Bergara, so your parent company pretty much for Bergara, the rifle company, they're in
Correct.
Spain.
That's correct.
And things are coming together for me. Okay,
So
go ahead.
so basically what happened is our BPI was formed, bought the assets of CVA, and then after it quit being a contract relationship, we quickly got together as a group and did a typical SWOT analysis and talked about where we were as a company, what the category, the market, all those sort of things that you typically do. And I think the determination, well, first of all, when I came on board, the CVA brand was really pretty low. I mean, it was at the bottom of the barrel. They'd had a product recall back in the 90s. It had taken a toll on it.
You guys are all about taking advantage of those companies with product recalls.
Well, I won't touch that one. So, but we, the first couple of years were spent really hard just trying to improve the brand. And, we slowly went through and tried to improve some of the product specifications.
Yeah.
And it was a challenge because CVA was an entry-level brand. We couldn't go out and make a $500 muzzleloader and sell it at the time, which is really an inexpensive firearm in the grand scheme.
Yeah.
So it was a challenge for us, and we had to start very small. I remember when I interviewed for the company, I went into a local gun store down there, Adventure Outdoors, which I'm sure you're familiar. I went in there,
of course.
and I wanted to learn a little bit more about the product, and I looked on the shelf, and they had like one or two CVAs, and of course at the time Knight was king of the mountain, and TC wasn't even really that strong. It was really Knight. Knight was the 800-pound gorilla back then.
Yeah.
And so I went in and asked one of the counter guys, and I'm like, "Hey, tell me about this CVA," because I was just kind of secret shopping them a little bit. And he's like, "Well, if you don't have more than $100 to spend on a muzzleloader, it's probably okay." And I'm like, "Wow, that's great. Some challenges and also opportunities." But at the time, my wife and I weren't even married at the time. We were living in an apartment. I'd always wanted to be in the outdoor space. I worked for a glass manufacturer at the time. I didn't care anything about glass. There was no emotional connection to a piece of glass. And and I told her, I'm like, "Hey, this is what I want to do. I'm passionate about it. I always loved shooting and being outdoors." And I'm like, if we're going to take a risk, let's do it when we don't have kids. And
That's right. Don't have kids and more. That's I tell people all the time. And I'll tell you another thing. I get the question all the time about, how do you do it? How do I get in the industry or whatever? And probably, I don't know, you could answer that too, but I don't really have an answer. It's just if you have an opportunity and you have a passion, like take the opportunity, you work hard, and you're going to have other opportunities, and you just start finding your way, and you end up, where you end up. I never, I don't know, when I was starting out, I didn't really want to own a gun company. I never thought about it, and it's just how it ends up. You keep working hard, you're interested in it, you have a passion for it.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree with you. It's timing is a lot to do with it, and I've got a lot of friends that have said that, that are in the middle part of their careers and said, hey, I really would like to be in that space, and I'm like, good luck. You're not going to come in. It's hard, even if you're a professional salesperson or a CEO like you, Adam, or any other position. It's very, we're in a large industry, but it also is small at the same time.
That's correct, yeah. And
there's a whole lot about just knowing who to call for what, how to talk, how to walk, what events to go to, which ones to avoid. There's a major learning curve for somebody to just pop in the middle of it. And I know that some big corporations, and we won't name names. No, I'm sure you will, but they'll pull in executives from appliance manufacturers or other industries, and I'm sure that they look good at the numbers, but at the end of the day,
Remington did that a lot. Yeah,
they don't have a pulse on the market like people that have been in it for 20 years like we have.
No, and I the problem I've seen with some of that, now that you bring it up, it's not that that's not valuable. That you can't bring in people from outside the industry. Like, I think I can learn, and if you're reasonably smart, you realize you can learn from everyone. Like, I learn from our shipping and receiving guy. I can learn from someone who's the CEO of a whatever hardware company, you name it.
True.
You can learn from everyone, but you need people with the passion for the product and the understanding of the product. Mm-hmm. And I think we've seen failures a million times, whether we talk about Remington or some of the foreign companies who I idolize. H&K is, to me, like the pinnacle of firearms manufacturing, quality, production, design. Like, they have been an incredible company. But, it's a foreign company. They don't have the understanding of our market, of the American gun culture, the civilian side, the military side, and, everywhere in between, the law enforcement, competitive shooting, you name it. They don't understand it. So, you make the best product, it doesn't translate. You could be the best accountant.
Sure.
But does that translate into being able to grow a business in our industry? Like, probably not. You got to have some people like you with the passion that going to drive through the hard times when shit's not easy and make the tough decisions. Because I know, Adam and I probably wrestle with it all the time, is making a decision. Like, at the end of the day, somebody's got to make a decision. And, being the CEO of your company, when things go good, you're a hero. And
right.
When something goes wrong, you're the biggest dumbass in the world. Mm-hmm. And
shit rolls downhill, but the blame rolls uphill.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I've lived both of those roles well.
Yeah.
You bring that up about HK and some of the European companies. I will say this, that there's a lot of the first one that comes to mind. There's 2 or 3 optic manufacturers out there who make fantastic products.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think that they just can't get over is that they will not allow the U.S. entity to run it, to focus on the U.S. market.
I think it's arrogance.
They'll dictate what their marketing strategy is going to be, what they can and can't say. And I get that you've got to have, if you're a global brand, you've got to have some continuity there and some consistency. But at the same time, I think that really, if I gave our parent company credit for any one thing, it's for them understanding that the U.S. is not Spain, it's not Germany, it's not any other country. We are our own country with a whole bunch of quirks, and we speak our own code. And they've allowed us to go out and do that. And it's really been...
It's something I want to get into because I'm fascinated by it, because I've seen all the failures with H&K in Germany and H&K USA. I mean, H&K... excuse me. H&K and Colt should own the U.S. gun industry as far as I'm concerned, and both of them have failed. Like...
At least once.
Great
iconic brands.
Oh, great brands, great products, and they just couldn't make the transition. But you guys, because I always think there's so many great European brands. Like, I love Swarovski scopes, and that's a good one. But yeah, how tied their hands are here with product development and chasing this market and understanding how much bigger the U.S. market is than all of Europe.
Sure.
And for me, I don't want to change a ton of stuff. I think Swarovski makes like the best hunting optics in the world. But there are some things that I would like to see in those optics. And when you talk to the people here, and they treat me great, at Swarovski in U.S., they have so little authority or power. And I see the difference in your company, because your parent company now, being Spanish, the rifle company, and what you guys have been able to do to attack the market in the U.S. And like, it's impressive, the success that you guys have had. But committing to it, working hard, and then it's nice when things work out. Like Remington goes in the toilet.
Didn't hurt.
No, it didn't hurt. Well, what happens? Okay, so let's back up. So you're doing the black powder stuff. So that's what you guys are doing.
Correct.
And you see, oh shit, we're bottom of the barrel brand. How do we grow that? Now, how does that happen? And then how do you spread into other things that you guys have done, like Bergara Rifles?
Sure. Well, I think that some of these were done in parallel, but when we sat down and did, and I remember the time frame that we did it very well, and I remember a lot of discussions, but we really, in layman's terms, to be politically incorrect, we quickly realized that we were very irrelevant. We were making products that people bought only because that's all they could afford. And we needed to make changes, and we needed to do it quickly in order to grow our business. And so we, it's little things like improving the trigger pull on a gun, improving the ergonomics on a stock.
But you know what? When you said that, my initial thought went to, it sucks to be in that position, but it's also great because if you swing the bat and you miss, no big deal. But you have a great opportunity to make a huge impact. Like if you're that brand, why not risk and try, anything to improve product? And if you're passionate about it, you can find a way, because it's just like you can talk about your friends that are now middle age and you got a mortgage and you got the kids. It's really hard to make a transition. And I tell everyone that. It was real easy for me, probably like you. You and your woman living together in an apartment, you got no kids, you got no mortgage. It's the greatest time to take risk. Like, if anybody is listening to this and you're 18 to 25 or whatever it is, any age, you don't have a mortgage and you don't have kids, take all the chances you can, because it gets infinitely more difficult once you have those responsibilities.
Exponentially with every passing year. I totally agree with that. And again, in retrospect, would I've wanted to go out and do it on my own? Probably. But I would have failed at it because I didn't have the knowledge then that I have now. So it's things work out for a reason.
Yeah.
So we grew it. It was.
So it's doing those minor tweaks, so trigger pull, ergonomics.
And then it was getting dirt under our nails. Like, we scrapped for every sale that we could. We would get, we were in front of our dealers all the time. We were helping to train. So
a big part of what you did to improve this was product education at the dealer level.
Correct. We had good sales reps. We still do. They were in front of the accounts. They opened the doors for us, and I think ultimately what helped us is that we earned their trust.
Yeah.
The independent dealers have always been the key of our business.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that we don't do business with wholesale or with some of the larger chains, but at the end of the day, that independent dealer was very critical, and they gave us the chance to help us grow. And they took a lot of them took risks on us, and there were occasionally times that it didn't work out. But we
hard to hit a home run every time.
Exactly. One of the things that I remember that helped us a lot is, all the muzzleloaders used to be, going way back, they were flint locks and side locks. But in terms of the modern inline, a lot of them were what we call straight pull, where the ignition system was right in line, with the powder column. And I remember that Thompson Center had the Encore. The Encore was like the pinnacle. And at the time, we were looking at it and realizing that because muzzleloaders are not defined as a firearm by the ATF, you can ship them through the mail. And we were talking with Bass Pro and Cabela's, who at the time had very major catalog business. Yeah. And, we just kind of had this realization that if we could make a muzzleloader only that was not convertible to centerfire, then that was a product that they could sell through the internet, through these catalogs, and we could capture a lot of business there, especially with Midwestern locations where you have a lot of farmer or have a lot of muzzleloader, good seasons out there.
Yeah, well, for those that may be watching that don't hunt, because our industry now, we have a lot of young folks that are into guns.
True.
So with black powder muzzleloader, typically with deer season in particular, you get extra time. You get to hunt before you can with a rifle. and sometimes even after you can with a rifle during deer season. So you get an advantage. In some of the states, especially the Midwest, you're not allowed to hunt with rifles or certain rifles.
Right.
So, so muzzle loaders are way more important in those areas than some others.
True.
So
that was when we first came out with the break action muzzleloader that was not a firearm. That was really what our business literally doubled overnight.
Really?
And the orders came in, we couldn't build them fast enough.
So
it was one of those
exciting.
and I remember our CEO at the time, he looked at me and he said, "Nate, enjoy this because you're never going to see this again in your career." And I'm like,
asshole.
I'm like, yeah, dude, don't bust my bubble, you know.
Yeah.
But all downhill from here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you won't if you sit on your ass.
That's true.
I don't know. To me, it's inspiring, and I love hearing it. Like you have the opportunity, you put in the work, you got the passion, and you see a category where you can improve. You can improve a product. Because I don't know how you are, but for me, being the business leader, when things go well, you get a lot of credit. Whether it's me, you, Adam, whoever. And like we said, when things don't go well, you get a lot of shit.
You get the blame.
But, the leader creates the culture and the enthusiasm that I think translates to the employees to where we can improve these things. Like, I'm not smart enough to invent hardly anything, but I'm smart enough to improve most things.
Then you're smart enough to hire the right guys that can do that too, right?
That is the most important thing, hiring and having, not micromanaging, and having confidence in the guys that you hire. And from my standpoint, I always think from creative, whether it's marketing, with Thomas, or it's our engineers, the creative side of the business. Hire the right guys and give them an opportunity to fucking fail. Don't beat them up over it. And be enthusiastic enough to inspire them to, pick themselves up, dust themselves off when they screw up. And, hey, this is what we learned. We're going to do this next time. And, yeah, if somebody else is doing it, we can do it better. For me, that's my job. It's like basically I'm just like the captain of the cheerleading team.
Just helping them, supporting them.
Yeah, that's all. I don't know. That's what I do. I don't know what you do at your place.
I beat them up pretty much every day.
Yeah, that's probably Adam's job. Yeah, you guys are CEOs.
I was disagreeing with you there because, you got to be hard on the guys that especially the ones you believe in, because, they might fuck up. They're not going to lose their job for it, but if they fuck up and you ignore them, that's probably not a good sign. Then you might as well just get rid of them. But you got to be hard on them. You got to give them a chance to improve. I think there's some value there. And
I think the guys that are generally the best are the guys that are going to beat themselves up more than you can.
Yeah.
And the guys that aren't going to, make excuses, but, God dang it, that they're pissed at themselves and they're just not going to take it lying down. We're going to get up and swing the bat again.
I think I kind of have a pendulum of sorts, and it's probably not the best business practice, but, there's a sweet spot for me with our team and some of our leaders that just have their shit going on, that they've got it right. I'll leave them alone, and then there's also a group that I think are underperforming, and I'll ride them pretty hard, sometimes to a fault. And then to the point that you made, there's sometimes there's guys that are kicking ass, but you also know they're capable of a little bit more, and I'll push those guys too. But I think that one of the things that I try to do a decent job at, and I probably fail at it more times than not, is kind of tailoring my approach on how I work with somebody based on their personality. Yeah. And I've got two, as an example, I've got two sons that they're very different personalities. And, I can tell one of them to go, take out the trash one way and tell the other one to do it completely different. One of them's going to get offended and, one of them's not.
Yeah.
So it's just a tailoring that. And it's,
having the kids.
Yeah.
My son, too, I could burn him with a cigarette and he would think he deserved it probably. Yeah. So, it is different approaches to like everybody. And, and a lot of the people that are critical at our company, there's some you can tell they were babied by their mamas. And you gotta treat them with gloves, but there's others like you kick them in the nuts when they mess up, and they're like, "You're right. We're not going to do that again." And they're really motivated by the failure to come back and prove themselves. And I probably relate to that the best. But man, it is. I don't ever want y'all's jobs. You or Adam, either one. Like I'm done with it.
That's why I have my job.
That's right.
But it's like, I mean, managing the people is the most difficult thing because, your company is the people. It's the people that work for you. And just trying to manage that culture. And for us, and it's probably, mirrored with you guys too right now, it's an exciting culture because, we've found our place in the industry. And you guys obviously have done the same thing.
We're finding ours. I don't know if we found it yet.
Well, you hope that's always the case. You're always
home.
doing it. I don't
You're
know.
home.
I don't know. But, it's a nice feeling. Like everything's a milestone. I think Adam and I in the last year or two, we realized, okay, well, we're not going to starve to death. And we've achieved this. And, I think, I want to create a brand and I want to create something long term. And, I always hope all my employees have a great place to work where they're inspired every day. It doesn't feel like work that much. They love what they do. They're proud of our company and they can retire there. Like that's my goal. Like my goal isn't like some of these guys you talked about earlier where you bring into a company and they're incentivized on an annual basis. And those annual goals or quarterly goals or whatever are very important. And we've got to achieve those. But to me, like I see where we're going. Like I want to be the greatest firearms company in the history of the world. And that means something different to me than it probably does to you or it probably does, the CEO of SIG or Ruger or whatever else. But, it's like nothing is ever quite enough. But I'm appreciating the journey, and I'm extremely proud of our people and what we've created so far. And I'm sure you are
should
too.
be.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, and I've always admired the way that you guys go to market and the fact that you're not afraid to take a product and completely, just reinvent it. Not 3% different than, product X or product Y, but 80, 90, 100% different.
No.
And I think that's kind of a very cool position and place to be in. And,
Well, thank you.
And you guys expressed that well. I think I told you last night at dinner, the mini fix, like I didn't get it. I saw it on the website.
No one did.
I'm like, what the hell is this thing? I'm like,
Bolt
I had a friend
action,
ask me about it.
300 blackout pistol. What the fuck?
Yeah.
It's stupid when you say it.
And then I went into to Bullseye there in Lawrenceville, and they had one on the shelf, and I'm like, hey, can I see it? I'm like, dang it, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that like it makes me want to just smack myself in the head. I'm like, why the hell aren't and that's not our DNA, but at the same time, it's like,
Yeah.
I get it. And
Thank you.
And at this point, if I ever needed anything that's in any one of those categories, I'm going to go to your website, or I'm going to call you or text you or come stalk you at your house and get the hookup because I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
I appreciate it. It is an interesting thing because I think of what you guys have done, and I love it. Because, when Remington bought my company, I was a company dude. I recruited. I was into it. I wanted to make it not only the best military company, vendor possible, but also I wanted to reinvent the commercial business. And they put confidence in me. They bought my company. They gave me a lot of authority. I recruited, hired. We developing product that I was super proud of. And it just didn't work out. So it's super exciting for me to see you guys like continue that no matter how bad they fucked it up. And our product, it's difficult for me sometimes because I wrestle with things, you and I are roughly from the same place. And, I didn't grow up with money and things like this. And I never thought about like money when I was young. But what I did think about was I don't want to work in a factory my whole life.
Right.
Or like my parents have a job you hate, but you have to do it to support your family. Like that was my biggest fear and motivator probably. And I feel so fortunate every day. And I say it all the time, but the only 2 years out of 28 that I've ever worked was the second year after Remington bought my company and my second year at SIG. Every other year I would have done for free if I could eat, and I love it. I love what we do, but what it's caused me to do is become a product guy. And I think we could have taken an easier road. Like when you say something like the fix, like that was a huge risk. It was a financial risk to me.
Sure.
I funded it. I believed in it. And so did our team. But it was a big risk. I think we could have taken a lot of, different approaches that would have been easier and made more money. But I don't think it would have been as satisfying for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just me personally, I'm more driven for the innovation and product development and the creative side than I am for the financial side.
Earlier I said the U.S. market might not be ready for a straight pull.
Oh.
My feeling on that was perceived safety with that thing coming straight back at your face. That's maybe my ignorance or whatever it is, but what are you guys' take on that?
I think yours is with a Blouser, and I think
Yeah.
you have that because that's actually been the case. Like, I love Blousers, but if you want to go with 338 Lapua or some of the big cartridges, that action is relatively delicate and it's not strong enough. And some of those guys, I think it was Australia, who adopted that gun in 338, and some of their dudes took the bolt in the face. So, but this fails. You're not going to get it in the face. It's contained within the stock and the receiver. What do you think about this?
I love
You
it.
familiar with these?
Yeah. I'm familiar with it as a PWS summit, and I think it's now Volquartsen, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep, that's
I don't
correct.
know.
But I like it, and again, it's kind of based on some European influence or flair, and I think
That's what I thought with the fix. Like, I love straight pull, but I didn't think America was ready because we're not really exposed to it. And I was afraid because, you can be too far ahead of time or too different.
Yep.
Even if it is like in a practical application, the most efficient thing, you have to explain to people. And
timing's important too.
yeah, America, like Americans were married to Cutlass for a long time. Then you see Chevy trucks are the best no matter what. 30 years later, it's totally different. And they're brand loyal. And I think that's a piece of the market where people get into it and it's hard to explain to them, hey, your granddad's 700 is old and this is cooler and faster.
Right.
But what are you saying about Europe?
Well, so the most of the countries over there, if not all, you can't own a semi-automatic rifle, and so for them, they do a lot of driven hunts. Pigs and red deer. And,
so for people that don't understand that, it's like basically you'll get in a position or oftentimes in a blind in predetermined positions, and you'll get stalkers or flushers, people who will drive the animals. So they'll start maybe half mile from you, walking through the woods in a line, pushing the animals past you. So
and you'll have almost like pheasant hunting where you've got blockers and you got shooters and or drivers rather.
Yeah.
But so they're pushing them, and these animals are typically running or trotting, and so they've got to be able to get 2 or 3 shots off very quickly. And the most efficient way to do that's to bring the bolt straight back to you, obviously, rather than having to go up and back. And honestly, that's one of the conversations that we've had a lot of spirited dialogue, if you will, with our engineering team in Europe, because they see it and they want that. But we've been very hesitant to bring that, to be essentially a leader and bring that technology to the U.S. market.
Yeah.
And obviously,
I want to
Savage
too.
did it.
Very
curious
that's right.
to see
They just brought one.
how
Yeah.
they're going to do with that. This is along that same spirit there, and I think Savage. I haven't held one yet, but I tip my hat to them for taking that risk, and I'd like to see a rifle lighter than that.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm the pot calling the kettle black when it comes to light rifles, but. I think they've done a good job with that, and it's an area that's on our radar. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we're going to have a rifle on the market in 2022 that's like that.
What is the parent company in Spain produce one already?
That's what I was going to ask.
No.
No. Okay.
No. We've got some not even prototypes, if you will, but we've got some concept designs. But again, we need, in order to be able to justify it, we need the U.S. market to be able to embrace it, and we just haven't felt like we're there yet, either with our concept or with the U.S. market being ready for it. Savage is a big step to help that.
Savage is a company I admire.
Are they the first to have a straight pull in the commercial U.S. market?
Blousers, but
I mean, they're here. They're European
it's a European
company, and PWS.
PWS.
They did this, and we've imported a lot of straight pulls. Browning has their little T-bolt.
That's right.
So is the Savage one you're talking about a rimfire?
No,
it's
they're
centerfire.
doing centerfire.
And I think that's one of the if I had to categorize it, they're the first to make it an affordable price point, centerfire, hunting oriented straight pull rifle.
Their own their own action.
What is it
because there's
called?
been some of the Russian stuff imported here and stuff. What was it called? We can look it up. We'll put it on the screen now. It's it was a clever name. I don't recall. Do you?
I don't.
I don't really looking at it, and I discussed it with the engineers. I'm not sure I agree with their approach, and easy for me to say. And also with Blauser, the Blauser is sort of a collet system, and it works for most of the cartridges, but it seems like what you were talking about with 338 and some of the Magnum cartridges, it's a weak action.
I don't know if I'd want to get behind a Magnum or a... Yeah.
No, it's like a 50 BMG bullpup. I ain't putting my face where that explosion's happening. Yeah. No. But we'll see. I mean, hopefully it's a step in that direction because you're right. It is the natural progression of a manually operated gun.
And we're going to need that. Whether it's 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road, I mean, it's kind of inevitable that we're going to need more of that technology. And I think that there's kind of a...
Oh, God, are you talking politics?
No, I know that this is a no political...
No, it's totally fine, but I think you're right. Number one, it's inevitable.
You can say whatever you want. We'll just edit it out.
If you like bolt guns, it's a natural evolution of that. And unfortunately, through this bullshit politic, this political kind of witch hunt with firearms that we're going through, maybe eventually they're going to be successful and we're not going to be able to have gas guns here, just like, the nations in Europe that we left to form our own country because of all that bullshit. And now how soon we are to forget.
Amen.
But, the gas guns, then that's going to be the next thing. I remember in the 94 crime bill when everybody thought the guns were going to get banned, DPMS, well, you weren't in the industry then. At the SHOT Show in 1995, so January 95, DPMS had a pump action AR-15.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and so that was in their booth, and that was with anticipation. So Randy Luke with anticipation of the gas guns, the assault rifles, the black rifles being banned, manually operated.
Whatever happened to it? To get
threw it in the garbage because it was, they banned high cap mags, bayonet lugs, flash hiders, threaded barrels, and collapsible stocks. So we could still make some.
They checked all the other boxes. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to it. So straight pull is going to be great. It's better, and hopefully America is ready for it before politics forces into it. With that said, all right, you guys start doing these barrels in Spain. You come up with a great process, and then you decide you're going to compete with Remington. No?
Ish, kind of. All right,
so what's a quick story?
So let me. I'll back up here for a second and start by saying that the first thing that we did is once we started our own barrel line, is we realized that we had excess capacity.
Yep.
Right. Then we started selling some of that excess capacity off to some other European manufacturers.
So you guys sell to like a lot. Some percentage of the European firearms manufacturers?
Not that many anymore. We have we have a handful. I'd say probably 3 or 4 customers in the European market.
Is that because you guys are utilizing your own production now?
Correct. What's happened is we sold that excess capacity, and then we started sucking some of it back up. I mean, obviously we're going to be our most important customer internally.
Sure.
And as we determined that we could sell it and make a little bit of money on these OEM accounts, we expanded it. So we basically doubled the line, and then we started selling some of that capacity over here. We realized that
to
OEM manufacturers.
Okay,
so other, our Bergara barrels are on multiple other brands of firearms in the United States. Most of them, I'd like to believe, are in that mid to upper price point threshold because our barrels are not inexpensive in the way we manufacture them. They're also very accurate and very consistent, and so it takes an OEM customer that appreciates accuracy and is willing to pay a little bit more for it. We're not going to compete with. I
mean, the honing process is not simple and not cheap.
No, it takes a long time. So what happened from there is that we wanted to really kind of showcase what we were capable of doing with the barrels, and the most natural place to do that organically was to start a custom shop. Okay, so we hired 2 guys from the, I believe they call it the precision weapons sector for the Marine Corps at Quantico.
Okay.
We went to a Brownells career fair up in Montezuma, Iowa. interesting place, none the least. But well, we went there and we met a gentleman named Dan Hannes, and really appreciated what he brought to the table. And Dan was at one point the chief weapons instructor there, and the Marine Corps, I don't know what the model is, but they use a 700. They blueprint a 700 rifle. Do you know that model name?
Are we talking about their latest M40 A7 or whatever they got?
Whatever that is. But they've always built their sniper rifles on the 700 platform.
Yep.
And so Dan and the guys that work with him in that unit were very proficient at blueprinting the 700 footprint. So that for us was the first step in it. And we were using, you had mentioned Stiller earlier. We were using Stiller actions. They were doing a variance marking for us, and we were using their Stiller TAC 30 actions.
Yeah, great actions.
And we, so we were building our rifles on that, and we didn't care at the time if we built 10 rifles or 100 rifles. Yeah. What we wanted to make sure of is that whoever we built them for, that they were enamored with those rifles, and they were the best damn custom-built
So
rifles.
the goal at the time was to build awesome custom rifles to show how badass your barrels are.
Yes. Step number one.
I didn't know this.
Yep.
Okay, and so good game plan. I'm with you.
We hired a couple of those guys from that PWS unit. They were all, again, they all knew how to blueprint the rifles the same way. And then from there, that allowed us to kind of learn a lot more about the bolt action centerfire rifle, because just because you know how to make a barrel blank, it doesn't mean that you know how to make an accurate rifle, right? Because you've got chambers, you've got threads, you've got torque specs, you've got all these other things that go into a rifle. And so we wanted to do it without just, completely going gangbusters and then realizing we built, a whole bunch of rifles that don't perform right.
Yeah.
So we did that. And then from there, we progressed into designing our two, even though the Stiller action is a great action, there's a ton of custom builders that are using it, a ton of competitors that are using it. There were things about that action that we didn't particularly love, and we felt like we could do better. Number one, making them for less money, but more importantly is making them to where they were smoother. A lot of my biggest personal beef with the Stiller action, and I've expressed this to him before, is that when you load on that bolt, right? If you're running it hard and you put a little bit of upward pressure on it,
tell me all about it.
That bolt, you'll get a lot of chatter in it, and so we're like, you shouldn't have that in a $1,000 retail custom action. And so our engineers set out and we wanted to design two different price points. We designed our B14 action, which we're building in Spain, just a standard 2-lug. It's really kind of more of it's not a 700 clone, but it's a 700 footprint. And then we designed for the United States that we're building here, our Premier action, which has a few more bells and whistles on it. It's got a floating bolt head and a non-rotating gas shield and and it's stainless steel. And so we had
some of the advantage that Savage put into their rifles.
Yes,
yeah, the
exactly.
floating bolt head. Yes, smart.
Yep. And then what we try to do is use more premium American kind of oriented components over here. Stocks like AG Manufacturing. We use a little bit from Graybow, a couple of different chassis manufacturers. Which, by the way, we should have a conversation. Trigger Tech triggers. Premium products that we can help to showcase the products. Yeah. And so we've got the B14, which will fill a price point from the, let's call it $800 to.
Well, is that where you started with when you started doing full guns, or did you start both?
We started working on both at the same time. I believe we introduced the B14 slightly before the Premier rifle.
Okay,
is that right?
so you have rifles that are made in Spain and imported
Correct.
And sold, and that's more of an entry level for Bergara. And then you have sort of, what'd you call it?
Our Premier series.
The Premier series.
Again,
has
very,
all this stuff.
very creative with the naming.
The B14 is $800-ish, and then the Premier is...
The B14 starts at about $800. That's our entry-level price point for us.
Okay, with that, who are you trying to compete with that gun? Like, originally when the discussions start, who are you after?
Well, what we wanted to do was to convince a Remington 700 customer that they could spend a little bit more money and get a lot more rifle. That was because we weren't exactly in the 700 space neatly. There was a little bit of overlap there, right? But there was a little bit of that. And we had some of our customers and some of our buyers say, "Hey, look, you're going into no man's land. Nobody wants to pay $800 for a bolt action rifle. You either need to be
those non-creative
Yeah.
buyers. It's like, hey,
I know.
maybe we can create a niche that isn't out there and we have no competition.
That's right. So, they were obviously going, hey, you need either to be at $299 or $399 or $499. You can't be over $499. If you do, you might as well go to $1,000 or $1,200 or whatever. And we just didn't believe that.
Yeah,
I
I don't believe that because
So-
I don't want to get in that bottom of the barrel price
No,
point.
it's not. We can't do it. We're not. That's not who we are.
Yeah.
So, and we wanted to have more bells and whistles and better performance and better service and I mean everything about it. If you look at, again, we didn't look at the Remington model and say, hey, they've screwed X, Y, and Z up, and that we can do it better. We did look at some of their weaknesses and say that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's business from Tikka.
Yeah,
Tikka.
Tikka. I mean,
Great product.
I love the Tikka rifles. Great product, great value.
I have mad, street cred for those guys. I mean, I give them a lot of props.
Yeah.
They make a very solid rifle. Again, and I'm not. Hopefully, they're not listening.
I mean, hopefully they are. I mean, it's respect to them.
If they
great
are,
company, great product.
The guys over in Europe need to turn over marketing to the U.S. and let them run it like an American company. And if they are, they would be dangerous.
Well, we talked about it earlier in the podcast. I mean, that's the problem with a lot of the European
Right.
companies. I mean, Tikka builds a phenomenal gun, but you're right. I mean, not only marketing, but sometimes with aspects of the product. The European usage or philosophy on the firearms is sometimes a little left of what we're doing.
That's right.
And we got a big gun culture here. What do you guys do better than Tikka?
Well, I'd like to think our barrels are better. I think our guns are more accurate. I'd be willing to bet my mortgage on if you took 10 rifles of us out and 10 Bergara rifles out and 10 Tikkas out, I'd put my money down that we're going to be, of those 10 rifles, we're going to be more accurate across the board. Yeah. And ultimately, that's what. And then the other thing that I think that we do better, and this is arguable, right? But I think that because we based our rifle on the 700 footprint, it was very strategic for us. It was one of the most widely produced actions
like
in the world.
The Jeep or Harley Davidson.
Yeah, it's
you
like
got
there's
all the accessories.
Tons of, or like an AR. Like there's an infinite number of aftermarket components.
Because I've got a Tikka rifle that I love, but it is kind of a pain in the ass. Accessory wise, it's difficult to do the things I want to do with it. Although I love the action, I love the gun.
Yeah. Who makes an aftermarket stock for that Tikka?
Yeah, you tell me. I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure that there are some.
I mean, there are some, but the kind that I want, because most of my guns are utility guns. I'm not shooting, I'm not shooting from the bench all the time. I'm not shooting PRS.
Right.
Like I use my guns, and so in a practical sense, there are not a lot of options. So my Tikka's got the plastic stock still on.
And that was a very purposeful strategy for us, was to make ours compatible with those aftermarket. We felt like it would give the buyer a little bit more. It's almost like an insurance policy. If they didn't like our stock, okay, good. Look, go get a Manners or a whatever to fit it.
I like it, and I think I would have made the same choice as you. I want to believe, because now that you've been successful with this, I want to say that I would have done the same thing. But, I don't like the 90-degree throw on a two-lug like a Remington as much as I like a Tikka with a 60-degree. But I like all the options, from a chassis, from a stock, from a scope mount, all the things, the triggers. Like, where do you get a Tikka trigger?
That's right.
You want to change it. And the options, like I use Jewel. You mentioned Trigger Tech. I would probably use them. They came out later, though. But I've got, 15 options for just a trigger for my Remington 700. So some of the things that I view as a compromise with the 700, you got to balance it. And like you said, you have all these other accessories and aftermarket products. It's just like I've got a Jeep in Georgia that I use in the mountains at my place, and it's not my favorite off-road vehicle, but it's affordable, and there is an aftermarket accessory 20 for every single part of that vehicle.
Anything you break, there's options readily available.
And there's a lot to be said for that.
And since it's the Q podcast, we can talk about the side check chassis.
Yeah, so that's so that was exciting. Like I said earlier, with your 22 barreled actions, and how cool that I can buy a barreled action from you guys. Is that a standard product, Jose? Yeah. Yep. So I got 2 barreled actions. I didn't have to buy your stock because I didn't want your stock. No offense. It's just they were going to go in our side check, and the fact that you went with a 700 footprint, and arguably, you could make minor tweaks to it that make it better, but then you're throwing out maybe 75, 90% of the accessories that you would have. The thing dropped right into our chassis, and I've got an awesome gun that is similar to the Fix ergonomically that I can use, that I don't have to do any modifications to. And I don't know, do you know, Jose, or well, maybe you know, Nate, what's like MSRP on this 22 bolt? What's it called, first of all? The 22 bolt gun.
The B14R.
B14R.
The R is for rimfire. B14 is because it's based on our B14 action, loosely.
Okay, and that uses that's a 700 action, so it uses AI magazine footprint. We'll call
Correct.
it.
AICS footprint.
Yeah, the mags are great. Yeah, so I got a bunch of those. They were affordable. But what's MSRP on the gun or the barreled action? Do we know? You have a ballpark?
Okay, so barreled action about $650, and then the rifle is street price is right around $1,000, depending on whether it's a steel barrel or the carbon fiber.
Okay, so for $650, we get that. Magazines, I think, were around $25-$30,
and I'm pretty sure you get one magazine with it. Most guys will buy 2 or 3 more.
Yeah,
was the $650 for the standard version or the carbon fiber barrel? 100 more for carbon fiber. Okay.
Yeah. So threaded barrel from the factory. So half 28. So it takes 22 silencers. The trigger's phenomenal in that thing. Big bolt handle. And so I end up, at whatever, $1,500, $2,000 in a 22 that is a great trainer for me. It's so weird, and I say it all the time. Americans think you got to pay $300 for a 22, and almost all of our 22s, like, you keep them forever. You shoot them all the time.
Right.
But in Europe and most of the countries where you can only own a few guns, 22s are expensive because they put a ton of effort and energy into them. The guns are phenomenal. It's not just a commodity.
You got to make it count because you can only own so many.
Yeah, you can only own 2 or 3 guns typically, and the European 22s are so nice. And so for me, you'd say, oh, $2,000 for a 22, and people, poo-poo on that maybe. I don't know.
I'm with you.
But like, what AR-15 with an optic and accessories do you not have $2,000 in? And most of us have now 4 or 5 AR-15s. Like, it's stupid. Have nice 22s.
We've got a little brother of the B14R.
I didn't even know that till this morning. Jose told me. So you've got like what would you do? Scale it down for just the size of a 22 with the action?
We're gonna call it the mini fit. No, I'm kidding.
That seat's taken.
All right, Christine, we need general counsel on this. We're gonna bust Nate's ass.
Well, before we get into the new product, real quick, I just want to say I really appreciate you guys doing standard footprint on that top and bottom because it uses our top rail.
Yeah. Top rail standard Remington scope mounts.
Yeah, we get a lot of grief from our high-end customers with these custom actions where they can't use the side check because the top or the diameters are different or this or that. And like that wasn't the objective. So we were on the same page as far as standard 700 footprint. There's so many of them out there.
Yes.
There's so many accessories.
$12.5 million.
Well, and we get a lot of guys that are shooting, PRS competition or even just long, and they're tricking these things out, man.
Yeah.
They'll start with $1,000 barreled action on a center fire, and then they're gonna drop another $1,500 in widgets.
Yeah, well, most of us getting into something, you want to dip your toes in the shallow end and see. So you could start with your basic 700 and you start upgrading it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I see what you're saying because for me, being able to put, whether it's our mount or any scope mount or the Tally direct rings on yours, which are 700 footprint, those are awesome. So then you don't have to have a mount and rings. You have a one-piece thing or the dead nuts, whatever they're called. There's just a lot of great stuff. So you're right. Not only the bottom of the action, but the top of the action where you have, infinite mounting options. I appreciate that myself.
Yeah, that was a good call.
Yeah. And again, we did that just for you guys.
Thank you. We get a lot of that.
No, it really, some of that comes down to our history at work in retail. The last thing, we want to do is have a rifle that some guy's like, yeah, I want to buy that. Well, I want you to mount my scope on it today. I'm going to shoot it tonight. What do you mean you don't have scope mounts for it? What do you mean it's proprietary? Well, I want a scallop, rail.
We all see when you're relying on vendors or other companies, like it can be an Achilles heel. Adam and I have learned a lot the hard way. At Advanced Armament, we made some guns, and at SIG, we made guns. But it was a big company. There was a lot going on there. There's tons of purchasing, tons of resource with manufacturing. But starting our company with Q, starting out with firearms, where with silencers we have 5 unique parts. Well, with our guns we have 117 unique parts. Wow, it's a different thing. So not having to rely on vendors where you have all that stuff readily available for 50 years of common use.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like it because, for the average guy, how much is changing the scope mount? Or, sure, I think the 700 should have larger screws like the M24 rifles for the military. They always
The
have
840s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we
that's-
put those on our Premier Action. That was, again, those are some of the
Premier.
small things that we do to go,
Yeah.
all right, well, they need beefier screws. They're going to be run harder than your typical,
Yeah, if
entry
you're
level.
starting from zero, it's a better option, but you're also pigeonholing yourself. So the Premier Actions, the Premier rifles that you do. So at what price point are we talking there?
I believe they start around 1,500 and they go up to the low twos.
It's cheap.
Yeah, they're still not expensive. It's we make the Action in Georgia. We bring the barrel blank in from Spain.
Yeah.
But then we do.
Oh,
all
you
the
guys are doing the profiling chambering.
We do the
there?
profiling chambering. All the we only Cerakote those rifles right now. We got a dude here that is like the Cerakote. The master.
Oh yeah, so he's here. So he works for you. Jose was one of my favorite coworkers at Advanced Armament, and he did Cerakote for us. And for those who have seen my my baby, that sweet fix that is a blue and gold and leopard. So my buddy Jose painted my handguard and stock for me gold. My favorite. I appreciate you.
Well, he's moved on to bigger and better things now, but he still consults with us. And so, at any rate,
Stay tuned for the next episode.
The Premier rifle is, again, we try to put more bells and whistles into it. They're a little bit more specific. Like we have a mountain rifle that's we're trying to get light on, and we're not under the 6-pound threshold, but we're flirting with it.
6
carbon
pounds,
fiber
you got a
stock.
308, man. You better hold on to that thing when you shoot it.
We're getting there though.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, so it's a Premier, your Premier rifles. So 1,500 to 2,200, we'll call it. But you think about what year you think you bought your first AR-15?
About 10 years ago. Maybe a little bit longer than that. It hadn't been that long.
No, so that's not that long.
No.
So I'll put some
It
things
may be
in
12.
perspective. So 25 years ago, AR-15 was $600 for a Colt or a Bushmaster. There's only like 3 companies that made them, Olympic Arms, and they were shit. But Bushmaster was considered good and Colt was. They were $600-700 bucks. And now, like a good quality AR-15, Adam, you're real into this.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
If you don't apologize, you're the boss. So if you go to White Birch or any of our gun stores,
That's who I was just texting.
oh, yeah,
That's funny.
So if you go to any of those guys and you're going to buy a good quality AR-15, let's say you got a buddy that makes a couple $100,000 a year, he's balling. He wants his first AR-15. What are you going to tell him to get?
The honey badger, obviously.
Yeah.
It's not a honey AR-15. But
No, what would he pay for an AR-15? Like if it's got a good trigger, hand guard, like all the shit on it.
at least $1,500.
I was going to say 2.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm thinking like you talk 1,500 to 2,200 for.
I mean, there's still not a lot of AR-15s out there with unique triggers or anything like that. It's all the same.
No.
It's just different
Right.
branding.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's an incredible price point and value for people if they're getting a custom action. You're putting Trigger Tech triggers in these.
Putting Trigger Tech, what they call their primary triggers in there, which
what
is a
stocks come on
freaking,
these?
it some of them are chassis, some of them are hand laid carbon fiber stocks.
I ain't doing a hand laid carbon fiber stock for less than $1,000.
You want one?
I'm
me a
saying
year.
it. Well, yeah, I'd love to have one, but I'm saying if I'm making the stock,
Yeah.
it's costing you $1,000.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, those things are labor intensive, materials expensive.
But but an AR-15, these $1,500 guns, these are just people primarily buying parts and assembling guns.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people buy, the cheaper ones because they have every intention of upgrading it with the aftermarket parts of their
That's
dreams,
right.
So,
And how many of them never do?
Oh.
I mean,
Or
some
how
of them are perpetually changing their.
Yeah, I was going to
components
say,
out.
are you doing? You got $3,000 a gun. So
Yeah.
what I'm telling you is, pull your head out of your ass, people. $1,500 to $2,200 for this Premier bolt action with an action that's made in America. You get aftermarket triggers that you're not going to want to replace. Hand laid carbon fiber stock.
Yeah.
It's a value.
Buy once, cry once.
I do want to. If we got 30 seconds for me to give you
got all
kind of
day,
a
man.
shameless pitch here. We do have a
why we're
new
here.
cool series that we're about to drop. Actually, I don't know when this podcast will hit, but it's a really cool. I think I'm hearing maybe sometime in April.
Toward the third week of April.
It'll be on or about the time that people are listening to this podcast. We've got a new series. I know there's a little bit of bourbon around here, and we're calling it our small batch series.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
so, and the concept of it is
Southern heritage.
to do some small runs of things that don't have what we would consider evergreen life, where you're not going to put it in the catalog and get 10 years out of it, or that you're not going to sell 1,500 of a year. We'll do anywhere from 2 to 3 to 400 units of a model, and it's one and done, customized, unique. We might do something
awesome.
like a folding stock. We might do a carbon fiber barrel one day. Something that's very unique. We might put a little bit of edginess into it. It's kind of like our little alter ego, if you will.
Yeah.
Living a little bit of the, Q life there.
La Vida Loca.
That's right.
Ricky Martin.
but I'm
holler if you hear me.
kind of excited to see some of that stuff because we've had some guys that are asking for it, and I think it'll serve a nice little niche. And those are going to be a little bit more expensive, but at the time you're going to pay for what you get, and you're going to have something that's essentially custom built. And it'll be very unique. So
I love it. It's like testing the water, staying relevant, doing new things. But that's also a great thing about being in the position you guys are in. You're not savage, and with all due respect to them, you're not trying to compete on commodities or a budget brand, and you're not trying to be $6,000 custom guns. But when you can get in that space, and you guys have built a brand where you've got trust and loyalty, and you're making a name for yourselves. It's based on quality and performance. You're able to do these sorts of things. And, bigger companies, Adam can tell you from being at SIG or, me being at Remington, you want to do 500 or 1,000 of something. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like flushing $1 million down the toilet.
And for us, it may not necessarily be a moneymaker, but it helps us build a brand and helps us to build loyalty and
The Ford Raptor.
And I think that's worth a lot more than what money can measure.
Yeah, I always say that. The Ford Raptor, like showing, it's just kind of a loss leader, but we're going to show what we're putting
What you're
into
capable
R&D
of.
and what
Right.
we're capable of and what this can be if you want it to be.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we let you have your shameless plug. I want to throw ours in real quick, and then I want to circle back to the 22 short gun you were talking about.
yeah,
'Cause
that.
I interrupted that, and we're way off course from that.
Yeah,
But-
I'm all about that.
So this is going to air today. If you're watching, is April 23rd, I think. And so that means there's
I'll be in Africa.
7 days left for the mystery shirt.
Mystery shirt. Oh,
Yep.
so we got a great mystery shirt.
Do
So
tell.
have you heard of our mystery shirt?
I have not.
So this is our 6th one in 5 years. So we need to do more.
No, get off your ass, Thomas.
Speaking of limited run stuff, which is what reminded me of it, other than Tommy texting me about this.
Thomas.
We do a mystery shirt, and you buy a shirt, you don't know what it's going to be, and it's going to be the same shirt for everybody. But if they buy this, they're entered into a chance to win a product of their choice.
Well,
Love it.
Adam's wearing a
yeah.
past one now.
So this was the last mystery shirt we did. It's a little army guy kick flipping his base with a honey badger.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
I like it. Where would a guy like me go to? Do I go to the website? And
So it's on the homepage, livecurdie.com. You just go there, click on it, buy your size, buy a size for your kids, your wives, whatever it's going to be. You can buy more. The more you buy, the more entries you get to win this. Try not to make it sound like a raffle. It kind of sounds like one.
Will it be?
It's a
definitely
giveaway.
not a raffle.
Giveaway.
Yeah.
Will it be pink?
Well, you don't know.
You don't know. It's a mystery.
Come on.
Do you want a pink one?
No, but if it is, I'll give it to Jose. It's okay.
It will be. It's going to be kid friendly,
All right.
which is cool, and it's going to be a design. Hopefully that the kids can actually wear it to school without getting thrown out or having their shirt be put inside out.
Yeah, sometimes that's not the case, but you
No,
never know.
sometimes not. And if there's a kid size available, it's kid friendly.
Perfect.
We'll say that.
Yeah, because
Unless you got
apparel's
some-
an interesting one.
Yeah.
Like it started back at Advanced Armament with me, and you got the Bergara vest on, and that's cool. And when Advanced Armament, I wasn't doing shirts, and people wanted shirts, and I felt like if I was selling you a shirt, I felt bad if it just said our name. Like it would have to be something that I would want to wear. And I put a lot of effort back in the day at Advanced Armament of doing shirts that were cool, like skateboard shirts and stuff I was into, things that I would buy. And I kind of feel that way now. It's like we have some standard shirts, just a Q or whatever. But, you know, I want to offer a lot of stuff that's interesting, and it's not too overtly gun stuff, and it doesn't say Q all over it. You know, it's just kind of, it's like Elon Musk said, you know, you're not, when you buy a Tesla, you're not just like buying a car, but, you know, you're buying into this like tribe sort of.
You're a member of the family.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do with it.
I like it. And, you know, the one thing I've learned just in my limited exposure to it is that it's not a one-size-fits-all model with apparel. I mean, like somebody likes a tie-dyed, you know, rainbow-colored honey badger, and, you know, some don't.
I feel like you're not the guy.
You know, but look, you know, structured hats, unstructured hats.
Sure.
You can go on all day long. But the cool thing is, especially in a market like we're in right now, where we're both at max capacity plus, we're not gonna add any revenue to our business or build our brand by adding any more guns. So why not give them some swag that they can go, you know, pimp and be proud of the brands that they shoot.
Some guys either aren't old enough or can't afford our products or whatever, but they can participate until they are at that point to purchase our, you know, our hard goods. But, you know, it was the idea with the shirt. It's like, oh, because I'm not always like pro having a gun and stuff on your shirt, and it's just not my style. I mean, obviously I'm into guns. But so I love the irony of this one where we put like a rainbow flag kind of under it, and then it confuses people. And you take it a step further. Like we basically we get a lot of gifts. You know, I think, you know, Adam and myself and the company putting ourselves out there on social media. You know, I answer tons of questions, dozens and dozens and dozens, if not 100 a day on social media myself. And we get lots of gifts. It's like if people want something from our company, it's something we can do, but I don't really want to do. It's like, okay, well, you send us a pallet of beer, I'll do it, you know. And just random shit like that. And people get engaged and they want to do it, and they do it. And so then our feet are held to the fire and we do it. But anyway, so a customer bought one of our shirts and got it and tie-dyed it and sent it back to me as a gift.
Nice.
Yeah. And I was like, you know, if you had said that to me, I'd be like, whatever. I saw the shirt. I was like, that's fucking awesome. And I wore the shirt, and then we just started doing them at the office. We got a laundry room at the facility. And
I noticed that.
Yeah. So one of the guys, Ivanka bought me like a tie-dyed kit, took it to the office, and they started doing these tie-dyed shirts. I'm like, oh, I love it. Then also, you know, I go to Africa next week.
Well, it's camouflage.
It's
You're already
camo,
there, dude.
and it's going to be summer, so I'm going to be hot as hell. And I've got camoed shirts now that represent our brand for the hunting show, you know, with Field Ethos.
And
so
of course,
that's
Matt
cool.
has experience tie-dyeing shirts. Like
Fucking hippie. What's he from, Vermont?
that, all right.
Q camo.
Yeah.
Right here.
Hey,
So anyways, to wrap it up, mystery shirt at the end of the month. You got 6 or 7 days to go buy it. The more you buy, the better chances of winning. Might win a silencer, maybe a honey badger, maybe a fix, maybe both. It might be that exact thing right behind me.
Whoa.
I'm
Slow
giving away
down.
Kevin's guns.
No, you are not. If Nate gives you another one, you can build one.
Well, maybe we'll talk.
That one's mine. Okay. So I got some questions for you.
Well, first,
All right.
let's finish
What
up
you
the
got?
short 22. I wanna
Short
know
20.
about that.
Forgot about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So you guys had success with this 700 footprint things.
We'll get
big,
there
blah, blah,
eventually.
blah.
So, you know, and again, this is part of our strategy. Typically, when we enter any categories, we don't want to have one model, right? You don't want to hang out like dog's balls or whatever you want to call it, you know.
I've not heard this, but please elaborate.
No,
you know,
tell us the 22.
We want, you know, multiple platforms. And so it started with the semi-auto. Then we went to the trainer full size. And then the last.
Yeah, you guys have a 22, the 1022 gun.
Correct. Yeah.
Sorry,
you know,
what's it called?
It's called the BXR.
BXR. So it was originally you were going to do a toggle.
Correct.
And you
We
ended up
actually
doing
were
a
working
semi-auto.
with PWS on it, and you know, but we wanted it to be different. We got to the end of it, and I'll keep it really short and simple here. We didn't like the finished product, and rather than pushing it to market and realizing that it would not be what we wanted it to be, we pivoted and we said, you know, let's make lemonade out of lemons, and we converted it to a semi-auto rimfire that was already based on the 1022 footprint, so you can take 1022 magazines, 1022 trigger packs. Our barrel's a little bit different than
I love it. I don't like the 1022 mags though.
They're a pain. They're miserable.
Yeah, the rotary mags, but the guns are awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys have had some success with that.
We have. It's still going, and so we learned a little bit. So the BMR is basically it's called Bergara Micro Rimfire. Again, we're super creative with our naming system there.
Yeah,
but it's you can hopefully at least remember it, and it's like the little brother. We took some things that we didn't like about the BXR. We took some things that we did like about the B14R.
Yeah,
and
the
we
long
morphed them
stroke. When you got a rimfire, the long stroke sucks.
Yeah, so it's a kind of a more of a traditional sized rimfire.
So something scaled down for
It's
22.
scaled down. That's right. And
Yeah, I
you know,
like
when
it.
you're in that 5 1/4 pound range with the carbon fiber version, short barrel, thinner profile, stills threaded.
You
all
use
of them.
700 triggers.
It does still take the 700 trigger.
That's pretty great. You can get some great trigger options. with that.
Shorter stroke on the action and a lot of a lighter weight. And it comes with 2 mags. It comes with a 10-round mag and a 5-round mag.
Still,
So if you're gonna
still
hunt-
a bolt action.
Still a bolt action.
Okay,
Yep.
yep.
Still a traditional bolt in the
Yeah.
sense of what
Is
most
it a
people
90-degree throw, or is it?
I believe that it's it's I think
you on
it's
the
a
spot.
60.
I like that better. I like that like 30% better.
And I might be wrong. I'm gonna have to go home and do my homework. But
Well, I mean, yeah, I set you up there, but okay.
I'm all in.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
A 22. Do we know what this is going to sell for?
about $600, $500 for the steel and $600 for the carbon fiber.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in.
So
I'm with you. I'm in.
Did you say release date?
we'll be shipping
do that?
them in probably the month of May.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Soon.
so very very soon.
Jose, can you talk to somebody in sales? Get me a couple of these. I need some threaded barrels. All right.
What if a mystery shirt winner asked for one?
Sure.
Oh, here we go.
All right.
It's
All
on.
right.
There you go.
Oh, I like this. Now it doesn't cost us
Yeah.
anything other than
That's right.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. I got some questions though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's start with these. Oh, this is an easy one. Let's see if you get it right. Remington or Tika? What we got?
Tika.
Oh, batting 1,000. Batting 1,000. All right.
I bought a Remington.
No offense to my former Remington friends or
No,
buddies.
no,
or,
they're fucking
Okay.
great.
I
All
bought
right.
I bought a Remington yesterday.
So, Jose, is he the best BPI employee?
Oh,
Who wrote these?
Jose.
He had nothing to do with it.
He's one of.
Okay, great
One
answer.
of.
Great answer.
That's
We'll take
good.
that because you guys got a lot of employees.
Yes.
With that being said, how about a raise from our man Jose? Can we get that worked in there?
100%.
Oh, you heard it here.
100%.
That's a huge raise.
100%. All right.
That means we actually have to start paying him now, I think, though. But it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of a government program. What's your next hunt? Where are you going?
Let me think about this. Africa,
Where are you going?
Tanzania. I gotta shoot a Cape Buffalo.
Oh,
I don't have to.
no, I
I
feel like
get
you have
to.
Oh.
And I'm
Have you
super
been there
stoked.
before?
I've never been to Tanzania.
Cape Buffalo.
I've been to Mozambique. No, sorry, I said that wrong. Going to Mozambique.
Have you
Not
been there
Tanzania.
before?
No.
Cape-
I've been to Zimbabwe and
Yeah.
I've been to South Africa.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I've never.
They're next to each other.
Yeah. So super excited about it. It's supposed to go last year, and then this stupid virus thing hit, and that put us off a year. In actuality, I thought it was going to give us a little bit more time to get ready for a new product that we're going to be shooting there.
Yes, because
But I don't know if we're going to have it ready or not.
I have some understanding about Cape Buffalo, so you can't shoot it with this the BMR.
No. We could. Probably be the last story I tell.
It'd make for a great video.
Unless
We'll send
really
Thomas
good-
to video this.
That's right.
Yeah. So what you gonna shoot it with then?
375 H&H.
Oh yeah, whose gun you using?
It'll be ours.
So you got some big guns coming out.
I don't. I will leave it at that.
Well, you got a silencer on it.
I'd like to work that out. I don't have one right now
You
that
should
I
have
would
a
like
silencer
to.
on it because you need to not wear
Yes.
ear protection so you can hear the PH tell you to run when you make a bad shot.
Huh? What'd you say?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I met you guys a little bit too late, but yeah, I don't need to damage my hearing any worse than it already is.
I can't. I'm going to go with our 8.6 cartridge as soon as we have more ammo, and I'm going to slay some of the Cape Buffalo with that.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to try.
So you're gonna start with some plains game this because you're going.
Yeah,
You've already been, haven't you?
I go a lot, but I'll be in. I'm going to go in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Going back. Yeah, Field Ethos. You should be on that trip. You skipped it. So yeah, we're going to shoot some stuff. I don't know. Cape Buffalo gets in the way, and I'm there. We might tussle a little bit. But you're definitely going to do it.
I'm definitely going to do
We
it.
videoing this?
Yes.
That's exciting. You going to shoot anything else?
Anything gets him away. No, I
love
think
it.
that they have some exceptional kudu and Inyala, so those would be my two natural additions there. And then I've never shot a good boar warthog, so those are.
Oh, you haven't? Yeah.
I've shot some meat hogs.
Man, those are tough animals, even by African
They really
standards. Oh.
I remember shooting one time with a 45-70 while we were over there, and this thing it sounded like just walloping a watermelon with a 2x4. And I remember visually just seeing this warthog running off. You know, they're pretty steady as they run, their tail straight up in the air, and this thing was running, and it was just like growing paint red. And I'm like, how did any North American animal would have toppled it over? And this thing ran about 60 or 70 yards and rolled over.
45-70.
With
Because
a
they're not big animals. No, for me, last time I was in Africa, I shot one 16-inch 308 with Hornady GMX. They're monolithic. The GMX is their solid copper monolithic expanding bullet. Great for Africa. 3 shots inside of 20 yards.
Holy cow.
And it ran 200 yards.
Wow.
Yeah, they're tough animals, man. Nyala is
Well, maybe I'll take
probably
a 500 nitro for that thing.
but yeah, Nyala is probably that's one of the most beautiful animals. That and the kudu probably the most, and bongo maybe, but most beautiful animals in Africa.
I can't.
So you
argue
don't
that.
you don't have a trophy kudu yet.
Nope. I got a representative kudu, but I want to move him to the back room and replace him with something a little bit more spectacular.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Are you taking like 308 or something as well, or are you just taking
I will.
375?
Yeah, maybe 6.5 or I don't know what, but I'm going to take a plains game rifle.
Yeah, great. Okay. All right. Favorite optics, since we're talking about going on a hunting trip. What do you use?
You're going to get me in trouble with a lot of people.
Oh, you can say whatever you want.
Is that plural? Favorite optics?
I mean, if you got to toe the party line like a wuss, go ahead.
Well, I had a question earlier about, you mentioned you did optics packages.
Yeah.
So maybe we can join the two questions.
I'm the older I get, the more I'm a firm believer in quality optics. So with that being said, Swaro, Collis, I like Vortex, depending on the configuration.
Yeah.
Zeiss, Leupold. I'd say those are my 5 go-to. And on my my 22 that I've got set up for NRL 22 competition, I've got a Bushnell on it. And it's a nice optic. So anything quality related, I'm a big fan of.
Well, what are you going to take to Africa?
I got a Leupold. I'm not sure I need to look back at the model. I think it's like a 1-6.
Okay.
But just a low power.
Well, you use that for plains game as well, or you take something with more magnification?
I'll probably take something a little bit more magnification for the plains game.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get hung up in that, and I'm taking a couple of guns when I go next week, and so our buddy Skipper at Leupold hooked me up with a Mark V 3.6 to 18. Great optic, and that's what I'm going to use for a lot of stuff, so that's on my 6.5 gun. But I've got a Swarovski Z8i 1 to 8 on my 308, and because over there it's like I'm going to take some shots that'll be in excess of probably 300-400 yards, and you'll have some shots that things are running and they're inside of 100 yards,
right? And I would think that most of the buffalo shots they're going to want you to be inside 100, and in that we shoot on 2 power, so. I think it's a good setup for it.
Yeah,
but I
for
do
some
like
of that, you want the field of view too. So even 1 power with a dot's great.
Yep.
Well, okay.
Totally agree.
You're going to have some Leica glass on your Africa trip.
Oh, I will?
I know the Field Ethos guys are big into the Leica stuff.
Oh, I'm excited to get some new shit. I like when they.
No, I'm not
send me
saying you're going to get it. I'm saying they're going to be using it.
Well,
So-
whatever with those guys. They're not sharing. I don't care.
Yeah.
No. Oh, yeah, they're glass. I mean, the European companies with the glass, and they have such a rich hunting tradition. And here, it seems like our hunting traditions In America, it's like more economy based, which
Cheap.
is annoying.
And inexpensive.
Yeah, and over there it's a little different. And just optics in general over there. Man, I mean those companies. I mean, Leica. Oh God, their binos and stuff.
They make
so
good stuff too.
Good, so good. I love it.
They're coming out with some new. I've heard that they've got several new models coming out soon.
If Field Ethos is sponsored by them, maybe I'll be the all-star of the show. I'll make sure I shoot the things with the smallest gun the farthest.
There you go.
Nice.
And get on those some of these shows we're doing. Maybe I'll get me some free glass. All right. Why are y'all better than Remington?
People, policies.
You could end that one right there.
Now, I think Remington has. I think their senior leadership was probably their ultimate demise, and the money behind them. But we won't. We won't go down that rabbit hole. Not cutting corners.
Yeah.
What is Remington's current status?
That's right.
Because that's the answer.
Well, I mean, their bank just bought out of bankruptcy. And the gun part, which I'm not sure I even am okay with this, and who am I to judge? Because I'm just an asshole. But, I think the Remington CEO at the time they went into bankruptcy is in charge of the company. He raised money through private equity or something and bought them out of bankruptcy and is about to put it back in production. That seems shady as shit. I don't know. Like, I'm sure I'm missing something.
We're probably both missing something, but that one, I probably scratched my head a little bit over that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem, if you're the dude in charge when it goes in the toilet, it doesn't seem like you should be able to buy it for pennies on the dollar and start it back up. Seems shady. I don't know.
Well, they haven't started it back up yet. They're
Not
supposed
yet.
to be, but look, hey, power to them.
Yeah.
We're not. If we do with our brand what we're supposed to do, it doesn't matter what anybody else does.
Oh, I love
and that's
that
what
attitude.
we tell our guys
Nate.
all the time. They're like, well, brand X or brand Y, and I'm like, dude, we are who we are. It's in our DNA. If we execute, even execute at 90%.
Yeah.
Rest of them don't matter. We're going to have as much business as we want, and we're going to be relevant, and we're going to be a part of, the firearms community's lives for a long time.
Are you guys growing every year?
Yes.
More than you expected?
Yes.
More than your bosses expected?
Yes.
Well, I measure that as a success.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, I'm very driven by competition. Obviously, I'm fairly confrontational.
What?
But the more we get into our own thing, when we had up our mind, like when we made our minds up to do the fix, like I jumped in the deep end. Like, I'm not a billionaire. Like, I'd been pretty fortunate, and I was willing to fund it. That was a lot.
But you had
for me, and so we get into that. When I committed to that, I believed in it. Didn't matter what anyone else is doing, and I don't even really watch a lot of the market anymore. So I don't know what other companies are doing, but I think we're at a place now, whether it's, Adam's experience, Ethan in engineering and his team, mine in the industry, I'm real comfortable with who we are. And you're right. If we do the things that we believe in and we can execute reasonably well, we're going to be successful.
I agree with you 100%. Stay true to who you are, and you're going to keep crushing it too. And you're going to. I know that you answered yes exponentially to every one of those questions you answered me. So, it speaks for itself, right?
Yeah, I believe in it. Like, we just got to do what we know is right. We got to execute. We got to maintain that culture, and we're going to be successful. I believe in it. What the fuck's Bergara mean?
Bergara.
How did we come up with this name?
Is it probably over a couple of beers and a glass of wine, sitting, or glasses of wine. Yeah, sitting in a town where our factory is based in Spain. And drum roll, the name of the town is Bergara.
There it is.
So we were
makes
literally
a lot of sense.
we were literally sitting there after, when we decided that we had a business with the barrels, right? So we were like, oh, cool, we need to name them. Well, what are we going to name them? I don't know. We were literally sitting in the town having dinner. We're like, it's a European company. Maybe we should make it, name it something that has a European theme to it.
Well, is it the idea sort of like the optics when we talk about premium optics? We don't name, like, Leupold's a great company. We talk about premium optics. We talk about Zeiss, Swarovski, Leica, these European companies. Is that kind of the idea that the premium European products. We want to bring a European name to America, kind of like Car Arms. That's Justin Moon. He's a Korean American kid, brilliant guy. He creates a great pistol company, and to him, it was like all the great his own words to me, all the great gun companies are German. So he came up with the name Car.
That sounds German.
K-A-H-R.
Yeah,
sounds German. That's the sole reason he named it.
It was so it was a little bit of that, but we spent literally $0 of marketing on it. We were, and I mean, again, I visualize being in that position right now. We looked out and we're like, well, what do we use as a logo, right? So like, you got to have a logo for your brand. It can't just be the name.
I like the circle with a B. It's iconic like the Q.
Well, it that's what it morphed into. It started out as there's a church there and I'm gonna make this up. The church is like 600 or 800 years old.
Yeah.
And so we originally had a steeple with a cross as our original logo for Bergara barrels.
Ooh.
And then we kind of outgrew that, and we're like, all right, well, that maybe doesn't make sense. It's a little bit old school. It's a more modern process that we're using, so we kind of dropped the church steeple. It didn't translate over to gun barrels or to engraving. It looked great on a
Because
barrel.
I do know, like in that part of the world, like I went to school in Spain, and like everyone's Catholic.
They're Catholic. All their buildings over there are old as
the
dirt.
cathedrals, the churches are all. Yeah, I mean, it's
So-
a big part of the culture there.
So coming back, Bergara is a town in Spain,
Yeah.
which is where our factory is, which is where we make our really cool, accurate barrels.
Where that's sort of north
So
on the coast,
yep,
west,
northwest in what they call the Basque region. So
Yeah.
we're probably
where the terrorists come from.
An hour from, used to anyway.
Yeah, when I was in school, all that was going on
the
because we
ETA.
were on the border as well. But I was in Valladolid and central.
They've
Spain.
kind of gone away now.
That all died.
But good surfing up there in that area.
Great food,
Good food,
great
fantastic
culture.
food, good
Isn't
people.
it interesting too? You're so close to France, and those communities have been there on either side of the border for thousands of years, and they can't communicate.
Yeah. Well, they actually do. There's some of the folks in France that speak Basque.
Well,
Those are random, but yes, but
in
otherwise,
that part, but where you guys are, you're still speaking Spanish, and it's traditional Spanish, and like with the French, like how is it like? It's like here to Maine, like a few miles, and they can't communicate after thousands of years.
that's right.
Okay, so favorite animal to hunt and eat, and/or eat.
Probably two different answers.
Okay, what are they?
I like mule deer hunting.
Oh yeah,
Short answer, I like it because you can glass and walk and hike.
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Us being from the East Coast, and you can't see more than a couple hundred yards. You get out there, you can see miles.
I'm not a fan of sitting in a little squirrel deer stand for 12 hours a day and seeing. I'll do it, but I don't love it.
Yeah.
Deer. To eat, probably I like a good antelope that's not been around sage. If you get one that's grain fed,
Oh yeah,
they're good.
The sage, the pronghorn that live out there in sage country. That's
if I
terrible.
can mooch off of a friend that shot a moose or something, moose meat's good.
Yeah,
Those are probably my favorites.
yeah. What caliber you use to mule deer hunt typically?
Anything.
Yeah.
6.5. It doesn't matter.
I know it's every time I go on a mule deer hunt, when I anticipate shooting something at 800 yards, I shoot something at 60.
50. Yeah,
I know. Okay, so favorite hunting silencer or favorite silencer, if you want to.
Well,
It is a trick question.
it is a trick question. How about the jumbo shrimp?
Oh, for 6.5.
Yeah.
Oh, for your life of hunting, that's a great choice.
For me, I again started out with heavier, longer, and then I realized that wasn't all the bee's knees. So, now I'm on the trend of lighter, shorter. Don't care if it's the quietest can out there in the world. I want to be able to maneuver it. I cut a lot of our barrels down that I'm going to use for myself personally.
Yeah.
So people get all hung up on velocity. Screw that. I cut them down. I want to be able to maneuver with it, and then there's never an animal that I'm going to be able to miss. It's a result of the barrel length.
That's that's a good point. Yeah, and
That's why we went to 16-inch on all of our fixes.
yeah,
We had the 22-inch 6.5,
Yeah.
and then we're like, why do we need this?
6.5, 16 inch. It still gives you 500 meters plus of killing capability with the 143 LDX from Hornady. And and the silencer, I want to not notice the silencer, and I want to just it not to ring my ears when I shoot. So for hunting and stuff like that, when you make them short, like you say, maneuverable, it makes such a difference whether you're slinging the gun and you're carrying it, or you're in and out of a vehicle, you're in a blind.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good answer. All right, I can live with that. Okay, so here's another thing. So for your guns, or a Remington-based gun, a 1 or 2 piece mount, what do you like for your scope mount? Base and then, optic mount.
I'm a 1-piece rail unless I have a floor plate. And if I'm using a floor plate, I want 2-piece bases.
Yeah, so you do.
So you're not covering up the ejection port.
Yeah,
because I can't. It's hard to fat finger cartridges in there. But I did have a dude teach me a trick. One of our sales guys, Dakota, I'll give you a shout out for that. Flip your action upside down with a floor plate, open it up, and drop your cartridges in that way, and then close your action. A lot of people don't do that.
Yeah,
a lot of people just top feed them.
Yeah, so with the floor plate, basically you get more of the lower receiver, so you got a rigid action.
Right.
But it is a total bitch for loading and unloading if you got a 1-piece base.
Right.
Yeah, so that is a cool trick. I didn't know that one.
Yeah, it changed my world.
So obvious. I never thought about it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's a good one. So I don't disagree with you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Favorite camo for hunting or clothes or what's that?
Sitka.
Sitka.
I'm not a
good stuff.
They make good stuff. I'm a whore.
Yeah.
I've got great friends at Realtree, got great friends at Mossio, got some Kuiu, I've got some First Light. I don't typically spend my own money on Sitka because it's too expensive. But I it
Kuiu, will change your life though. I mean, you and I are spoiled. We get stuff for free, but if you don't have good quality stuff,
you're miserable.
It changes your life. When you go on a cold or a wet hunt and you've got Sitka or you've got Kuiu or you've got some Arc'teryx, you got some good quality stuff.
Again, that's like optics. The older I get, the more I believe in that. And I don't want to be out there wet if it's raining. I don't want to be cold, for my body if it's cold outside. I don't want to feel like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, to be warm. So the technology's improving and it's money well spent if you're invested in being outdoors.
Yeah, so you're not loyal to one type of camo.
No, not at all.
Cool. Adam, you got anything else, buddy?
Nope.
Kevin and Adam, I can't thank you guys enough. Appreciate the opportunity to be here and first time I've ever had Southern hospitality in New England. So hats off to you.
Well, he's not from here.